You're about to click off, aren't you? That's what most people do, and that's exactly why they stay average. But listen closely. If you watch till the end, you'll understand something about yourself that most people never figure out in their entire life. And if you don't, well, that tells me everything I need to know about you. This video isn't for the comfortable. It's for the ones who can handle the truth, the ones who don't get scared when their ego gets challenged. Stay till the end. Not for me. For the version of you that refuses to stay ordinary. You're drowning in motivational content designed to make you feel better about your mediocrity. Inspirational quotes, success stories, the relentless message that you're enough, you're worthy, you can achieve anything if you just believe. And you consume it all because it numbs the pain of your actual powerlessness. But I see what you refuse to see. If you're brave enough to face what real power actually looks like without the comfort of false hope, watch till the end. Most won't. The addicted to delusion always reject clarity. Toxic positivity is a cage I would never enter. It tells people that their thoughts create their reality, that their mindset determines their destiny, that if they visualize hard enough, the universe will bend to their will. It's designed for the weak. It makes failure their fault. It places all responsibility on their psychology while the actual architects of power operate invisibly. I don't operate that way. I don't wake up and practice gratitude. I don't visualize my future. I observe reality as it actually is, without the psychological filters most people use to survive. And from that unfiltered observation comes actual power. Not the feeling of power. Not the inspiration to pursue it, but power itself. The kind you can't achieve through belief. You've been trained to think positively about your limitations, to reframe your failures as learning opportunities, to see obstacles as growth. But what if obstacles are just obstacles? What if failure is simply failure? What if you're simply not equipped to win in the systems you're operating within? That's the reality I accepted long ago, and I act from that reality, not from the fantasy you've constructed to cope with it. The self-help industry profits from your desperation. It sells you hope because hope keeps you buying. Another book, another course, another motivational video, each one promising that this time, the formula will work. But the breakthrough never comes because you're following a script designed to keep you stuck in perpetual self-improvement. You're not supposed to become powerful. You're supposed to stay desperate enough to keep consuming content about becoming powerful. I rejected this cycle entirely. I stopped listening to what I should become and started calculating what I actually am. That calculation revealed weaknesses so profound that motivation wouldn't touch them. It revealed that some gaps can't be bridged by effort or belief. Some deficiencies can only be accepted and worked around. Most people can't do this. They need the comfort of believing they can overcome anything. I don't need that comfort. If you're still watching, like this video. Because most people have already stopped, unable to tolerate a worldview that doesn't promise them a happy ending. You've been told that failure builds character, that struggle is noble, that the journey matters more than the destination. But these are stories told by people who've already secured their position, explaining to those below them why their suffering is actually spiritual growth. I don't suffer through struggles. I identify suffering as inefficiency and remove it. I don't celebrate character building. I replace weakness with calculation. The motivational gurus are right about one thing: mindset does matter. But not in the way they describe. Your mindset matters because it determines whether you're willing to see reality clearly or whether you prefer comforting illusions. Most people choose illusions. They choose to believe their hard work will be rewarded, their honesty will be reciprocated, their goodness will be recognized. These beliefs make life bearable. I would never internalize that narrative. I see the system. I see how power flows through it. I see who benefits and who loses. And I position myself as one of the beneficiaries, not by changing my mindset, by understanding the mechanics of the game well enough to always move the pieces in my favor. That's the only strategy worth executing. The cost of accepting toxic positivity is permanent dissatisfaction. You'll always feel like you're not believing hard enough, not visualizing clearly enough, not aligned with your authentic self enough. There's always another layer of self-improvement available. Always another angle to optimize. You become addicted to the idea of becoming better because you never actually become better. The system is designed for perpetual failure, perpetual striving, perpetual consumption. I stopped striving. I stopped improving. I stopped believing I could become something other than what I already am. And in that acceptance, I became free from the cycle. Not happy, not fulfilled, but free. And freedom is more valuable than all the positive thinking in existence. Comment, "I'm ready," when you understand that the answer isn't a better mindset. It's the willingness to see without the distortion of hope. You want your pain to mean something. You want your struggle to build towards something. You want to believe that eventually all this effort will pay off. That's what keeps you going. And that's exactly what keeps you trapped. Because the payoff never comes. There's always another obstacle, another challenge, another level to grind. The game is designed so you're always approaching the finish line but never reaching it. I don't play that game. I don't invest meaning in my struggles because I don't believe struggle is necessary. If something requires excessive effort, I don't do it. If something is too difficult, I find an angle that bypasses the difficulty entirely. I remove struggle, not by believing I can overcome it, but by refusing to engage with it in the first place. This is efficient. This is how real power operates. Most people will never expand what they can control beyond what seems reasonable, but I expanded it far beyond what most people consider possible. I control systems, outcomes, psychology, reality itself, not through motivation or positive thinking, but through understanding how power actually flows and positioning myself at the center of that flow. The difference between you and me isn't that I'm smarter or worked harder or believed more. It's that I accepted powerlessness early enough to strategize around it, while you're still wasting energy trying to overcome it through better attitudes and stronger beliefs. I invested in understanding. You invested in inspiration. That choice alone determines whether you win or lose. Toxic positivity is the antidote to actual revolution. If people believe they can improve through individual effort and mindset shifts, they won't question the structures that benefit from their powerlessness. They'll blame themselves instead of the system. They'll optimize themselves instead of reimagining the game. And the architects of the system remain invisible, unthreatened by personal development. I don't blame myself or the system. I simply observe how power operates and position myself among the people winning. I didn't overcome toxic positivity through a counter-narrative. I transcended it by seeing it as irrelevant. Whether I'm positive or negative doesn't matter. What matters is that I win. What matters is that I maintain absolute control. And that's achieved through clarity, not through any philosophy about the nature of life. The final truth. Inspiration is for people who haven't yet accepted what they actually are. I accepted it completely long ago. That acceptance, that willingness to stop hoping for a better version of myself and start strategizing with the version I actually am, that's the closest thing to real power that exists. You can keep consuming motivation, keep believing, keep hoping, but I will keep winning while you're still trying to inspire yourself into relevance. That's not a threat. It's simply how the game works. You're holding on to someone right now, a person you'd claim you can't live without. All nonsense. Someone who makes you feel complete. But that attachment is exactly why you're weak. That person is a liability, a vulnerability, an anchor dragging you down while I've already cut mine loose. If you're brave enough to face what it actually costs to become untouchable, watch till the end. Most will skip because the weaks always run from the lies because it makes them uncomfortable. You think loneliness is the cost of detachment, but you're wrong. Loneliness is what you feel when you still crave connection. I don't crave it. I deleted that need entirely. What I experience isn't loneliness. It's clarity. The kind of clarity you'll never know because you're still too dependent on others to validate your existence. Every person you love is a weapon someone could use against you. Every memory you cherish is leverage. Every moment of vulnerability you've shared is ammunition waiting to be deployed. You know this intellectually, but you keep forming attachments anyway because you're terrified of what you'd discover about yourself if you were truly alone. Comment, attachment is weakness, when you accept that your strongest relationships might be your greatest weaknesses. I discovered it long ago. Without anyone to perform for, without anyone to impress or protect, I found that there was no me waiting underneath, no core self, no hidden authentic person, just a functional system optimizing for outcomes. That realization destroyed the person I was pretending to be, and I've been operating from that truth ever since. You measure your worth through your relationships. Your identity is a collection of roles: good friend, loyal partner, caring family member. But strip away those roles and what remains? If every person who matters to you disappeared tomorrow, would you still be yourself? Or would you cease to exist? The answer you're avoiding is that your identity is entirely dependent on external validation. I don't have that problem. I never constructed an identity that required others to complete it. I am functional. I am sufficient. I am complete precisely because I've never allowed myself to become incomplete through connection. That might sound like a philosophy of strength, but it's actually an admission of something darker. It's a confession that I've amputated the parts of myself that could be hurt. If you're still watching, like this video, because most people have already closed this, unable to tolerate the recognition that their most cherished relationships are actually chains. Attachment is negotiation disguised as love. You accept things from people you'd never tolerate from strangers because you've decided those people matter to you. You compromise your principles. You ignore red flags. You rationalize betrayals. All because you've invested emotional capital in maintaining the relationship. That investment makes you predictable. And predictability is just another word for exploitable. I've never been trapped in that dynamic. Not because I'm strong or superior, but because I'm incapable of forming the psychological bonds that would trap me. I can simulate attachment. I can create the appearance of care. But underneath, there's no actual investment, no vulnerability, no risk. That makes me free in ways you'll never comprehend. You think my freedom is isolating. You think it's tragic, but you're projecting your own fears onto my state. You're interpreting my detachment as suffering because you can't imagine existing without the connections that define you. But I'm not suffering. I'm operating at optimal efficiency. The cost of my detachment is that I'll never be truly known by anyone. No one will see me completely and accept me anyway. But that's not actually a cost. That's a feature. Being truly known would create vulnerability. It would give someone else power over me. Complete knowledge is complete leverage. I refuse to grant that to anyone. You're still holding on to the idea that connection is inherently good, that love redeems suffering, that human bonds make life meaningful. But those beliefs are just narratives you tell yourself to rationalize your dependencies. Connection isn't inherently good. It's a transaction. You trade vulnerability for validation. You trade authenticity for acceptance. And you convince yourself it's worth it because the alternative feels unbearable. The alternative is unbearable. That's the point. Most people can't survive it. They need the mirroring of others to feel real. They need external acknowledgement to believe they exist. Without that constant validation, they begin to dissolve. I dissolve that requirement completely. Every person you've ever trusted has the capacity to destroy you. Not because they're inherently malicious, but because they have intimate knowledge of your psychology. They know exactly what you fear, what you want, what you're ashamed of. That knowledge is a weapon whether they ever choose to use it or not. The weapon exists. It's pointed at your chest, and you invited them to hold it. I don't have anyone who can destroy me because I've never given anyone that ammunition. I've never confessed weakness, never revealed fear, never shown the parts of myself that could be used as leverage. I've maintained complete informational asymmetry in every relationship. They think they know me. They think they've seen my vulnerable side. But they've only ever seen what I chose to reveal, which is nothing essential. You want to believe that genuine connection requires vulnerability, that you have to show people your weaknesses to build real intimacy. But genuine connection is a luxury for people who don't need to survive. For people who've secured enough power that vulnerability doesn't threaten them. For everyone else, vulnerability is just exposure, just a strategic error waiting to be exploited. The people you're closest to are the ones most capable of hurting you. That's not a tragic irony. That's just how power dynamics work. Proximity creates opportunity. Trust creates vulnerability. And vulnerability creates targets. The closer someone is to you, the deeper they can cut. I've rejected proximity, not out of fear, but out of strategic clarity. Why would I allow someone close enough to hurt me when I could maintain distance and remain invulnerable? The people around me serve functions. They're useful, but they're not essential. And nothing that isn't essential is allowed to create dependency. Share this video if you've ever felt completely alone despite being surrounded by people. If you've ever suspected that your deepest connections are actually your greatest liabilities. That's not a tragedy. That's freedom. And you've been conditioned to see freedom as loneliness, to interpret independence as pathology, to valorize emotional attachment as the highest form of human experience. But what if you're wrong? What if the people who matter most are the biggest obstacles to actual power? Most people will never cut those ties. The thought is too terrifying. The cost feels too high. Better to remain comfortable in their dependencies than to experience the clarity that comes from severing them. But some of you will recognize this truth, and you'll begin the process of slowly, systematically removing the people and attachments that limit you. That process will be excruciating, because every person you distance yourself from is a piece of your constructed identity dying. Every relationship you let atrophy is evidence that you were never as authentic as you pretended to be. Every moment of isolation will force you to confront the fact that without others to validate you, you're not sure you exist at all. But on the other side of that process is something extraordinary. Not happiness, not fulfillment, but absolute clarity, absolute control, absolute freedom from the leverage that others hold over you. That's what I experience every day. That's what I'm describing to you right now. The final truth. The people you love most are holding you hostage without even knowing it. And the only way to be truly free is to accept that their loss would mean nothing to you. Most of you can't accept the language, and all that remains is a person too afraid to evolve. If you're still here, like this video, half of them already fled. They couldn't handle the mirror. The emotions you worship as strengths are actually the control mechanisms used against you. Guilt, merely the phantom voice of people who never wanted to see you rise. Shame, a manufactured rulebook created to keep you obedient. Empathy, the quickest way to allow others inside your defenses where they can steer your behavior with a single trigger. The moment someone knows what hurts you, they own you. And most of you hand out instructions for your own destruction without being asked. Those who rise above the crowd don't go to therapy to talk about emotions, they train themselves to silence them when strategy demands it. Every time they choose logic over comfort, the emotional instinct decays. Every time they betray expectation for personal advancement without remorse, another chain snaps. Every time they prioritize optimal decisions over popular ones, their independence wonder why they're ahead of you. Every arena of power demands the same principle: emotional discipline, the ability to make the correct move even when the correct move is cruel, the resilience to weaponize information rather than fear it, the capability to harm strategically and never apologize for doing what was necessary. Call them flaws if you want. Meanwhile, those flaws build empires while your virtues build excuses. The individuals who truly escape mediocrity, the ones with influence, money, autonomy, all share one truth. Emotion is a luxury paid for only after the throne is secured. Detachment is not a trait, it is a prerequisite. And the price of control is simple. You must let the part of you that needs comfort die. The only question that remains is, do you want to rise, or do you want to feel? But understanding is not neutral. The more someone understands you, the more precisely they can aim. The person who truly gets you is the person best positioned to use you. The same depth you crave becomes the exact depth they exploit. You romanticize intensity. You think feeling everything deeply gives you some special advantage. But intensity is just magnified predictability. The stronger your emotion, the easier it is to steer you. All it takes is pressure on the right nerve. The more you care, the louder your behavior telegraphs your next move. And the louder you become, the simpler you are to control. Share this video if you've ever felt like people knew exactly how to push you and you hated how accurate they were. You ask how someone like me stays in control. The answer is simple. I treat emotions as data, not instructions. When I feel something, I don't obey it, I study it. Instead of I'm hurt, so I react, it becomes I'm hurt, which means someone thinks they've found a weakness. Now I decide what to do with that information. The emotion becomes a signal about the environment, not a command I'm forced to follow. Detachment isn't about never feeling. It's about never letting anyone see feeling turn into action. The gap between what I experience and what I show is where power lives. You, on the other hand, have no gap. Whatever you feel leaks into your behavior instantly. Anyone watching gets real-time updates on your internal state. You call that authenticity? I call it a broadcast. You assume being unreadable means being empty. You're wrong. It means being disciplined. It means refusing to let momentary impulses override long-term positioning. It means letting people guess while you decide. It means smiling when you're bored, staying calm when you're insulted, and looking unchanged when others would crumble. Not because you're faking, but because you've chosen control over expression. You think freedom is being yourself without caring what others think. That's not freedom. That's still a reaction to others. True freedom is when what they think doesn't even enter the calculation. When their approval, their anger, their expectations don't alter your moves. You don't ignore them, you factor them in. But you never surrender your decisions to your feelings about them. You want power, but you behave like a diary left open. You want respect, but your emotions give away every advantage. You want to be unpredictable, but you react the same way every time someone presses the same button. You don't need more confidence. You need fewer exposed nerves. Like this video if you recognize that your emotions have been running you instead of serving you. Killing emotion isn't about becoming a monster. It's about becoming unreadable, untouchable. When people look at you and can't tell if you're pleased, offended, threatened, or indifferent, they hesitate. And hesitation is all you need. Their uncertainty gives you time. That time lets you choose deliberately. Choice, not feeling, is what wins. There is a cost. When you stop letting emotions dictate your actions, you also stop using them to feel alive. No more rush from impulsive decisions. No more drama to prove you care. No more chaos to distract you from how empty most interactions actually are. You trade noise for silence. You trade warmth for clarity. You trade belonging for control. Most people can't handle that silence. They'll go back to emotional chaos just to feel something, even if that something keeps them weak. They'll choose predictable suffering over quiet power. They'll call their dependency love, their reactivity passion, and their instability depth. It sounds poetic. It just isn't effective. The final truth is simple. As long as your emotions are visible, you are readable. As long as you are readable, you are predictable. And as long as you are predictable, you are never the one truly in control. The ones who rule the game are not the ones who feel the most. They're the ones who learn to feel in silence and move without leaving of control. And you'll have to watch them leave. You'll have to stand in that loneliness without flinching. Most people can't do this. Most people would rather stay addicted than face that emptiness. But that emptiness is where strength lives. In that space where no one's opinion matters, you finally hear yourself. In that silence where no one's watching, you finally decide what actually matters to you. In that isolation where you're completely alone, you finally become complete. Not happy, not fulfilled in the way the world measures it, but complete, whole, untouchable. You're going to feel the withdrawal. You're going to reach for your phone. You're going to want to post something just to see the reactions roll in. You're going to craft messages specifically designed to get responses. And each time you feel that urge, you'll recognize it for what it is, the addiction screaming. That's the moment you don't give in. That's the moment you build the muscle of indifference. Each time you resist, you get stronger. Each time you choose silence over performance, you become more dangerous. The validation you've been chasing your entire life is never going to satisfy you. There will always be someone whose approval you haven't earned. There will always be one more person to impress. One more audience to win. The goalpost moves infinitely backward. You're chasing something that recedes faster than you can run. And in that endless chase, you're wasting the only resource that actually matters: time. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone you know is drowning in the need to be seen. Watch them reject it first. Watch them defend their addiction. But plant the seed. Because the moment someone recognizes their own cage, they can choose to leave it. Real power isn't about being liked. It's about being dangerous. And danger isn't attractive. Danger is quiet. Danger makes people nervous. Danger doesn't perform. It observes. It calculates. It moves without announcing itself. The most powerful people in any room are never the ones seeking attention. They're the ones so focused on their own trajectory that they don't even notice who's watching. I stopped needing validation 10 years ago. I stopped checking. I stopped performing. I stopped crafting my image for public consumption. And something extraordinary happened. I became invisible. Not in the sense of being forgotten, but in the sense of being unreadable. People couldn't pin me down. They couldn't predict me. They couldn't control me through approval or rejection because I had eliminated my dependence on both. The loneliness is real. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. There's a particular kind of isolation that comes from not needing anyone, from being untouchable, from moving through the world with complete indifference to whether you're liked. It's not the loneliness of being rejected. It's the loneliness of being autonomous. It's the loneliness of being free. And once you've experienced it, you'll never go back to the cage. Most people will read this and feel a spark of recognition. They'll think, yes, I need to do this. And then they'll close this and immediately check their phone. The addiction is too strong. The fear of irrelevance is too loud. The need to know that they matter to someone is too consuming. They'll retreat back into their cage, because at least in the cage, they know the rules. At least in the cage, they have hope that one day someone will finally validate them enough to make it all worth it. But you, if you're still here, if you're actually considering this, you have a choice. You can stay addicted, you can keep chasing, you can keep performing, you can spend your life waiting for permission from people who don't even know your name. Or you can make the decision I made. You can kill the need. You can accept the loneliness. You can become the person no one sees coming. The final shift happens when you stop asking the question, what will people think? And start asking, does this serve me? Every decision becomes clearer. Every path becomes more direct. Every moment becomes more valuable because you're no longer diluting it with the anxiety of judgment. You're living for yourself. And when you live for yourself, you become unstoppable. From now on, you are not the person seeking validation. You are not the person checking your phone. You are not the person performing for invisible judges. From now on, you are the person no one sees coming. You are the one who moves silently. You are the one who doesn't need permission. You are the one who is truly free. And from that freedom comes a power that people will sense but never quite understand. You're comfortable right now. That comfort is why you'll never be exceptional. Most people spend their entire lives running from solitude, filling every silence with noise, every empty moment with distraction. But the ones who actually matter, they've learned to be alone. Not lonely, alone. And in that aloneness, they become unstoppable. If you're brave enough to hear why your fear of solitude is the exact thing keeping you trapped, stay till the end. Most won't. The ones addicted to constant connection always run when confronted with silence. Look at yourself right now. You're probably surrounded by people, or at least your phone is in your hand, connecting you to hundreds of them. You can't sit with yourself for 5 minutes without needing external input, without needing someone else's voice, someone else's presence, someone else's validation to prove you exist. That's not living. That's haunting yourself. You're a ghost that needs constant reassurance it hasn't disappeared. The reason you're uncomfortable alone is simple. When you're alone, you have to face yourself. And you've spent so much time performing for others that you don't actually know who you are anymore. The solitude becomes a mirror, and you're terrified of what stares back. So you keep running. You fill the silence with music, the emptiness with people, the questions with answers someone else has already given you. Anything to avoid the confrontation with your own mind. But here's what you don't understand. The people you're afraid to disappoint, the crowd you're performing for, they're not even paying attention. They're too busy performing for their own crowd. Everyone is so consumed with how they appear that nobody's actually watching. You're running from an audience that doesn't exist. And that realization should devastate you. It should make you furious that you wasted so much energy on people who were never actually judging you. Like this video if you've ever realized that your greatest weakness is your need for external reassurance. I discovered something a long time ago. When I stopped needing people, people became useful. When I embraced solitude, I understood power. When I learned to be completely comfortable alone, I became invisible. Not in a literal sense, but psychologically invisible. I became the person no one could predict because I wasn't performing for anyone. I was just calculating, just observing, just existing without needing anything from the people around me. The shift happens gradually. First, you stop needing constant input. You sit with your thoughts without panicking. You don't fill every silence. You let boredom happen. And in that boredom, something extraordinary occurs. You start thinking clearly, without the noise of other people's opinions. Without the distraction of external validation, your mind becomes sharp, focused, dangerous. Then you realize something darker. Most people can't survive their own thoughts for more than a few minutes. Their minds are so cluttered with self-doubt, self-criticism, and desperate need for approval that solitude feels like drowning. So they keep running. They keep filling the void. And that's their weakness. That's the gap between you and them. While they're drowning in their own thoughts, you've learned to swim. Comment, "I will rise silently," if you're willing to spend time alone without it feeling like a punishment. But here's the cost. When you become comfortable alone, you stop needing people, and people sense that. They become uncomfortable around you. The ones who were feeding off your need for validation suddenly lose their power. The ones who were enjoying your desperation start feeling your indifference, and they'll try to pull you back. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll frame your independence as arrogance or depression or damage. But they're just noticing that you've become dangerous. Dangerous is when you don't need anything from anyone. Dangerous is when you can walk away from any situation, any relationship, any opportunity without flinching because your value isn't dependent on external validation. Dangerous is when you're so comfortable alone that the presence of others becomes irrelevant to your decision-making. I don't have close friends. I don't have confidants. I don't have anyone I fully trust with my thoughts. And I'm not sad about this. I'm liberated by it. Because the moment someone knows everything about you, they have infinite leverage. The moment someone becomes essential to your happiness, they can destroy you. The moment someone becomes your emotional anchor, you're no longer free. You're tethered. You're going to feel the pull. You're going to want connection. You're going to want to share your struggles with someone who understands. You're going to want to be seen and known and valued by another person. And each time you feel that pull, you need to understand what it actually is. It's weakness. It's the part of you that's still afraid of being alone. It's the part that needs external validation to feel real. But what if I told you that's not actually your nature? What if that need for connection is just programming, environmental conditioning, something that can be unlearned? What if the you that emerges once you've killed that need is actually your authentic self? What if the person you become when you're completely comfortable alone is the person you were always supposed to be? Share this with someone who's terrified of being alone. Someone you know is constantly surrounding themselves with people to avoid themselves. Plant the seed. Watch them resist it. But understand that the resistance is just the fear screaming. The fear knows that solitude is the death of weakness. Look at yourself one more time. Really look. Right now, as you're reading this or listening to this, are you alone? Are you genuinely present with yourself? Or are you already thinking about who you need to call, who you need to text, what group chat needs your attention? That constant need to be connected, that's not love. That's not community. That's addiction. The path to power is the path through solitude. Not because you need to reject people, but because you need to reject your dependence on them. You need to become so complete within yourself that other people become optional. Not unwanted, just optional. The moment someone is optional, they sense it, and they respect you for it. Or they leave. And either way, you're fine because you don't need them. The final revelation is this: you're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid of discovering who you actually are. You're afraid that when the noise stops, when the performance ends, when no one's watching, there's nothing there. That you're just a collection of responses to other people's expectations. And that terrifies you. So you keep running, keep performing, keep needing. But here's what happens when you stop running. When you finally sit with yourself and face that terror, when you stare into that emptiness and refuse to look away, something shifts. You realize the emptiness isn't empty. It's full of potential. It's full of clarity. It's full of power. The person you discover in that solitude is someone you didn't even know existed. Someone capable of things your performing self could never achieve. From now on, you are not the person seeking connection. You are not the person afraid of silence. You are not the person who needs others to feel complete. From now on, you are the person comfortable in absolute solitude. You are the person no one sees coming because they're too busy looking for signs of weakness, and you have none left to show. You are the person building empires in silence, while others are performing for crowds that don't care. And here's the thing you need to understand as you leave this video. I already knew everything about you before you started watching. I knew you were uncomfortable. I knew you were seeking connection. I knew you were performing. I observed it all. And now, the question isn't whether you'll change. The question is whether you'll recognize that you've already started to. That moment of discomfort you felt, that's not weakness. That's the beginning of transformation. That's the moment solitude stops being a punishment and starts being a sanctuary. Calculate and execute. You let the chaos of the world wash over you like a storm you've already predicted. There's a difference between suppression and detachment. Suppression bottles the storm inside. It's weak, temporary. Detachment is mastery. You watch the storm, but you don't let it touch you. You analyze its patterns, its intensity, its weaknesses, and then you act not emotionally, but strategically. Now, I'm talking directly to you. Don't scroll past. Don't tell yourself this is someone else's philosophy. This is your life. And if you're still reading, it means you want it. You want to stop being predictable. You want to stop bleeding energy to people who don't care. You want to become untouchable. But ask yourself, are you ready to face the truth? Are you ready to admit that your own mind has been sabotaging you since day one? If not, click away. Go back to scrolling. Comfort yourself with illusions. But if you are, listen closely. Here's the reality. People think action is everything. They think movement proves strength. But most action is noise, empty motion, reactionary, loud, chaotic motion. That's not strength. Observation is strength. Patience is strength. Silence is strength. You win by seeing what others don't. You win by noticing patterns they ignore. You win by calculating 5 steps ahead while they argue about who's right or who's wrong. Do you know why I always appear unshakable? Because I am. Not in the way people think. Not because I feel nothing. That's childish. I feel, I analyze, I act. But the world doesn't get a single hint. I am unreadable. My enemies, my peers, my so-called friends, they never see it coming. And that's the point. Predictability is death. Unreadability is survival. And when you combine unreadability with strategic mastery, the world loses. And if you want to win, that's what you need to understand. Most people think they are strong because they survive the day, because they smile in public, because they pretend they're okay. Pathetic. Survival isn't strength, it's habit. True strength? It's control. Mental control. Emotional control. Strategic control. And right now, I can tell you, most of you don't even know what that looks like. You've never disciplined your mind to the point where your inner voice works for you instead of against you. That voice has been your executioner. Every doubt, every fear, every imagined failure, you gave it permission. And now, it runs wild, and you wonder why the world feels impossible. Comment now if you're ready to stop letting your mind betray you. Comment, I am my own weapon, if you're done blaming the world. Like this video if you want to stop being predictable. Share it with someone who refuses to face their own mind. Because maybe, just maybe, this will hit them harder than any insult, any lecture, any failure ever could. Because make no mistake, no one will rescue you. No one will hand you victory. The only way forward is to make your mind the ultimate weapon. And it starts right now. Look at yourself. That flicker of doubt, that tiny hope someone will save you, it's a lie. No one is on your side. Not your friends, not your mentors, not even your family. Your mind has been your executioner all along, feeding on every fear, every regret, every I can't. Stop giving it ammo. Detach. Observe. Strike strategically. Be silent while others scream. Be unreadable while they fail predictably. Comment, I see everything. I say nothing if you're done being weak. Like this video if you refuse to be predictable. Share it with someone stuck in their own mental prison. Watch my other videos. Every word, every strategy will teach you to evolve, dominate silently, and become untouchable. Stay invisible. Strike when they least expect it. They think emotions make you real. Control makes you lethal.